Thankfully, club football is back to save us all of the dross that is international football. And great news, there's no international football for another 4 months. So we've got a period now where we've got no international football. We can really get into these fixtures thick and fast. And by the next international break, the table will have definitely taken shape. Now, last round, I got 2 scores correct. Southampton beating West Brom 2-1. And the other one was great because it was Ipswich beating Swansea 3-2. And if I remember correctly, I did say that Ipswich would go behind and win that 3-2, which is exactly what they did. Great from Ipswich, and it was a decent result, 2 out of 12. Hopefully we can get more here. There's some great fixtures. Make sure to like and subscribe, and let's get into my predictions. We start off on Friday night as Rotherham host Leeds. Now the Millers are under new management now after losing 5-0 to Watford before the break, but there's no manager there. It's going to be Taylor's assistants taking over, which isn't really great. They haven't made a call yet, so hopefully it doesn't go too badly, but they are going to need to recruit pretty quickly. Their performances haven't been great, but they are unbeaten in 3 home games, which is a very important stat because one of those was a 2-2 draw with Ipswich, a very good game. So Rotherham can do it at home. Leeds, they've won 6 out of their last 7. 5 of those 6, however, have been by the odd goal, meaning that in this one, I'm going to go for something similar because Rotherham are good at home. So Leeds to win 2-1. Saturday's fixtures, kicking off with Blues against Sheffield Wednesday. Now, not a great start for Rooney, 1 point out of a possible 15 in his first 5 games. But if you take the context in those games, I think Eustace, as much as I loved him, away we were poor under him. So for me, we lose to Middlesbrough, Southampton and Sunderland away. And then you look at 2 home games. Rooney got a point against Ipswich. I don't think Eustace's style of play would have got that point against Ipswich because we weren't pressing high. I think Ipswich would have walked over us, which then leaves the whole game, which I do think Eustace had potential to win. I think we wouldn't have lost it. I would have probably put that as a draw. So for me, I know it's a lot of whataboutery, but I would have went for Eustace to get 1 point out of those anyway, maybe 2 if we were lucky. So for me, I don't really think it's fair to judge Rooney on that. He's been in awful positions before at clubs. He's finally got a chance at a club that's functioning properly with owners that are going to back him. So I think we just have to now see how he does in this next run because we've got some favourable fixtures. But this is a big game for him because Sheffield Wednesday, they've only won 1 game all season. They sit bottom of the table. They're struggling. They've lost 2 in a row. The latest was a 4-0 and they were home in that one against Millwall. So for me, Rooney has to win it, and I think he will. I'm going to go Blues to make a statement and win it 3-0. Bristol City face Middlesbrough next, and Bristol City, they've got 11 points at home and 11 points away, both out of 8 games. Pretty inconsistent, but just doing enough for a mid-table spot, but it's so tight that can all change within the space of a week. Middlesbrough, been in great form. In their last 9 games, they've only dropped 5 points. So they're flying, and they beat Leicester 1-0 just before the international break. So brilliant result that was. And I'm going to go for them to get all 3 points here and win it 2-1. Huddersfield against Southampton. For me at the moment, Huddersfield have to pray that there's 3 teams worse than them at the end of the season because they look like they're struggling. At the moment, there are 3 teams below them, but I think that could change. If one team below them, their fortunes change. QPR just had a new manager. Rotherham have sacked theirs. Sheffield Wednesday, as much as I don't fancy them, have a new manager. If one of those go up, then I think it will be Huddersfield coming down. They're not in great form at all at the moment. They've got 1 win out of their last 10 games, no wins in 4. They're playing a Southampton side that are banging form, unbeaten in 8, 3 wins in a row. I think this is Southampton all over. so I will go for the Saints to win 2-0. Leicester face Watford next, and after 9 wins in a row for Leicester, they looked unstoppable, but 2 losses against Leeds and Middlesbrough, both 1-0. Haven't scored for 2 games, which is a shock. Leaving it all a bit open because Ipswich have caught them up, both on 39 points, and they do need to pick up the form again. I mean, they're very capable of it, they've got great quality in the squad, but can they get back to winning ways soon? It's a tough game because Watford, their position in the table is not great, but 6 games in a row without losing, 3 wins, 3 draws, a brilliant 5-0 win over Rotherham before the international break. Could there be a shock here? Now, my head's telling me no. I think Leicester will go and win it, but there could be a surprise. I'm going to go for the Foxes though to win it 2-0. Millwall face Coventry next. Millwall picked up their first win since Rowett's sacking, and it was a big 4-0 against Sheffield Wednesday away. It's a great result for them. They'll be hoping to push on now. And they've got another favourable fixture as Coventry haven't won in 6, 2 draws and 4 losses. They drew 0-0 with Stoke in their last one, and they really are struggling. They're having a bit of a hangover from that playoff final last year, it seems. Mark Robbins has turned it around before. I'm sure he can again. But I am going to go for Millwall to sneak a 2-1 win. After 6 without a win and 5 of them being losses, it looked like David Wagner's time may have been up at Norwich, but turned it around against Cardiff with a 3-2 win. May have bought him a little bit more time. But is he going to get another win against QPR? Now, QPR are struggling. They haven't won in 11 games. But since Fuentes came in, they've drawn 2 in a row. They are playing better. They're seeming a bit more positive on the pitch. Can that start to translate to a win? Well, for me, this is a tight game. And to be honest, I don't see anything other than a 1-1 draw. Plymouth against Sunderland should make for good viewing, as Plymouth are very exciting at home. Their last game, a 3-3 draw with Middlesbrough. Before that, it was a 3-0 win, so 6 goals in 2 games at home. That's where they tend to get them most of their points, and they're a good side there, so very hard to beat. Makes me think that this could be high scoring. Sunderland unbeaten in 3, although they've got a makeshift defence, which I think will result to Plymouth scoring. They are very good in attack. They beat Birmingham 3-1 before the international break, and they were much better than us, even though they did have a makeshift defence. So for me, this will be an attacking affair, a 2-2 draw. After 7 without a win, Preston were looking like they were going to start dropping off, but they've got their spot back in the playoffs after 2 wins in a row against Coventry and Blackburn. Cardiff seem to be going the other way. They've had a few good spells of form, but no wins in their last 2. They lost the last one in a bit of a shock to Norwich, where they were leading, but they threw it away at the end. How are they going to react to that? Now for me, I've got Preston winning this 1-0. Stoke against Blackburn now. These two sides are very different at the moment. Stoke, 5 games unbeaten, 3 of those wins. The latest 2 have been 0-0 draws, but they've only conceded 1 goal in those 5 games. So very resolute defensively, very hard to beat. Blackburn, when they come to town, there tend to be goals. Their last 3 away games, they've managed to score 9 goals in them, so plenty of action when Blackburn travel. And how do I see this one going? Will it be a high scoring affair, or will Stoke's defence get the better of Blackburn? I am going to go for Stoke because I've just got a feeling Blackburn, they can't do it every time they travel. They can't score so many goals, surely. So maybe a bit of an off day for Blackburn. Stoke to win it 1-0. Swansea against Hull. Now, Hull are the better side at the moment on form. Swansea, they've only picked up 4 points out of a possible 15, so it's better than some Blues, but not a great points tally. However, they did have to face Leicester and Ipswich in there, so with added context, maybe it's not too bad. They've only drawn 1 out of their last 9. That's a stat that probably means nothing, but it kind of leads to where I'm going with this. Hull drawn 2 out of their last 9. They've won 3 of their last 4, but I see this as quite a tight fixture. I would favour Hull, if any, but I am going to go for a 1-1 draw. 2 high flyers, West Brom and Ipswich. 2 surprises. Obviously Ipswich have been better than West Brom, but I wouldn't have put either of these sides in the positions they're in at the moment. So 2, I'd say, overperformers doing very, very well. West Brom, they've only lost 2 of their last 11 fixtures. Those were against Blues and Southampton. Southampton being a tough game, Blues being a bit of a derby, so they can go either way. So West Brom, good form recently, plenty of wins in there. Ipswich, they've only lost 1 game this season. They haven't lost in 13, but their last 4 fixtures, there's been a 3-2 win, 2 2-all draws, and then most recently, again, a 3-2 win. Plenty of goals when Ipswich play. Could that happen here? When I tend to look, it seems to be that Ipswich go behind and then get something out of the game. Tends to be a win. Probably happen again here. I am going to go for Ipswich to carry on this brilliant form and win 2-1. So, those are my predictions for these fixtures. There's some brilliant games in here, some tough ones to call. I'll be hoping Rooney can get his first win, and if it's a 3-0, I'll be very happy with that. I'm hoping it's not a scrappy game, because if it doesn't work against Sheffield Wednesday, I'm worried it's not going to work at all. I understand he needs his players in the transfer windows, but this team has enough quality to beat a Sheffield Wednesday that have been, I'm sorry about this, but they have been abysmal this season, and I think even Sheffield Wednesday fans would agree. So hopefully Blues can get the result, but every game's tough in the Championship. Make sure to like and subscribe, and hopefully it's an entertaining week.